Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to a video, a bit of a belated one compared to most releases. That's because I completely forgot that this guy was releasing. It feels like Bandai forgot as well. There's no reminder post on Insta before its release, I believe. Unless I missed that as well. And it wasn't until I saw a couple of people on the Dragon Ball Figuarts Discord talking about him, and I realised he had come out. Now, I got the original Ichigo and Renji, and I just was not in the line, so I got rid of them. I haven't touched any of the other Bleach Figuarts since then, and I think most people just consider the line dead, to be honest. Though I did have the last release, which was a premium Bandai, the dual sword one from the 1000-year Blood War, was really cool. But when this one here was announced, I was definitely keen because this is basically the one that I was wanting from the get-go, right? The earlier, this would be the, what's it called? The Miranda, anyway, that Spanish-themed arc, right? Where he gets a hollow mask and he fights the Aranka and stuff, right? And all of that was basically more of a Bleach I remember I was really into, right? So that design of Ichigo really stuck out to me, and that's basically what this figure here is. This is the Ichigo Kurosaki Getsugatensho version, and this is basically what I think the first release should have been. We get Ichigo, the hollow mask, we get an effect, right? And this is exactly what we needed from the Bleach line, so I just had to jump on it when I realized he was out. So I popped in after work and got him, had a little bit of a play with him, and yeah, I'm actually liking him so far. Still a few of the issues that put me off of the original release is still there, but overall a really solid figure. So anyway, enough of that. Let me just pop in a box so I can actually show you guys what he does come with. So we have Ichigo in the center there. We get his Bankai Katana as well. We've got the half hollow face mask, full hollow mask. The base face with blood coming down, which is amazing. We never get blood or that type of gore on figures. It's very rare, so the fact that we've got it here with Ichigo is really cool. It kind of it's one of those iconic scenes, right, when he's oh man, I don't remember, it's been so long since I've read or seen it, but it was one of those really badass scenes when he was standing there, I think with the wind flowing and the cape caught up and the blood coming down, right? But anyway, we get the two hands for holding onto the katana, the loose grip ones and the loose relaxed hands as well, and obviously the closed fist is already on him. And then behind that we also have his attack, the Getsugatensho one, with the stand. So that is really cool. I don't know. We get an effect with a Bleach figure. That is just awesome. Something that definitely... oh man, we've had Ichigo, then Renji, and then we had Aisto Hitsuka, is it? Byakuya and Kinpachi, and none of them really came with any accessories. I always felt a bit empty, so it's really cool how we are getting it with a retail release like we have here with this Ichigo. But anyway, let me chuck them up on the turntable so we can check out the overall finish with this release. So we've got Ichigo here in a simple pose up on the turntable, and one thing I want to highlight is all the sculpting and detailing in his lower Shinigami uniform there, and this part is broken into multiple parts, all attached with a peg to give it articulation. It definitely makes it easier to pose it compared to the original releases, which was one all solid flowing piece of flexible rubber. But obviously those joints will stick out a bit more. The legs, it still has the legs still have the same style design as the other ones, which I know it's just the way it is with these figures. Now, it's still not really something that I really like personally, but I feel like this one here does look nicer than the original Ichigo. Unfortunately, I don't have one to compare it with. I do love that blood on the face coming down, and speaking about the head, the colour, I love the hair on this release. We get the dark orange, the lighter highlights for the orange as well, so that weathering in there is fantastic as well. Then the colour separation on the, is it the getter for those ones? But anyway, all the shoes, clothing, socks, inner parts of the clothing, the inner red, white, black, all the colour separation is looking really nice, along with the sculpting with the belt, and then as well with the white around the inner top, right? And you get the kind of bandages there, and then same with the inner white part underneath his pants. So really cool there. The katana looks really nice, the colour separation, detailing for the red and the black, and the hilt is nice. We can get the chain coming off too. That is a softer plastic, so it can flex a little bit. but it is basically sculpted or molded into that flowing design that we see there. Now the effect itself is pretty cool. We do have it on a stand, which is nice. You can bend it and flex it around on that stand if you want. One thing I will say is I think the stand is a bit too short. I think maybe having a shorter one and a taller one would have been ideal, because at least from playing around with some poses, I feel like when I want to use it with this effect, it doesn't quite line up to the positioning that I would want from it. But yeah, let's pop this off and we can have a look at the articulation for this Ichigo release. So starting with the head, decent range of tilt motion there. He can look forward really well and he can look up. That hair is really spiky, so do be careful there. A little bit annoying when trying to put the faceplates on. But yeah, overall we do get a nice range of motion, which I feel like is pretty natural. Mostly on the head. Oh, there we go. Mostly on the head, but definitely we do get some motion on the neck as well. Now coming into the shoulder, great range of motion. We can lift this arm all the way up like that, which is great. And coming forward with the butterfly joint there, we can get a decent range of motion where his arms can cross over. So a nice range of motion there. Same with going back, everything feels super fluid. And then we get the bicep swivel. Elbow joint is fantastic, double jointed, great range of motion. And then same with that wrist peg. Now for the torso, or the upper chest here, we get a few mil forward, going back a little bit better, and we get some diagonal motion, but everything does feel pretty fluid. The under top part here is a soft rubber, so it can flex a little bit, but not too much either. But going forward we do get several mil motion forward there. Going back is really good, and then we can get the diagonal and we can get some motion twisting. Most images I've seen for the flaps here, it has these ones on the outside, but depending on the pose, I actually quite like tucking them underneath actually. I feel like it kind of makes a bit more of a nicer solid flow down, especially depending on how you angle these. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, you don't really have to follow exactly what they say, right? Just see what works for you, or mainly I should say, see what works for the pose that you are trying to do at the time. Obviously at the moment it's lining up really nice, but if you have them spread out, twist around, it can work better the other way. Now to look at these a little bit better, we've got 2 pegs. So we can lift it up like so and even further to get a decent amount of motion, and actually a really good range of motion. You can twist around as well. If I twist it this way, you can see the joint. Now obviously depending on which way that peg is facing, or depending on where you can twist and angle it. I haven't tried popping them off yet, but I assume you can easily pop it off, swivel that peg around, reattach if you want a different angle. So that's the same for both of these. And then the back as well, we've got a joint on the lower part of this top there to lift up, and then this one will move as well at that center point. Now these are also soft rubber, so they can flex and bend out of the way if needed. Obviously it will just revert back to its default molded shape. So the main motion is going to come from those pegs. Moving over to the hips here, the split is absolutely fantastic, which is great. Going forward is actually pretty decent, more than 90 degrees. Going back definitely hindered due to the butt flaps there, so that is something to keep in mind. We get the upper thigh swivel, and the knee joint will swivel around. It is single jointed, but despite that we get a nice range of motion, and for the most part it looks pretty fluid, and the silhouette shape isn't too bad. Bit of a jarring joint on the top, but on the front at least it does flow around. We do get some sculpting going up into the actual joint area, so when it's partially articulated, it definitely looks a lot better. I feel like this is more subtle design than the original. I think the original had more plates. It still reminds me of Licorice. I don't know if they could do it in a better way or not. I think I much prefer the design that we had on Sagiri from the Jigokuraku figure, which was a bit more, only a few more lines and quite angular, but again, different character design. So yeah, I think it's, at this point, it is what it is, and it's something we have to live with. But coming down to the feet, one that I was definitely disappointed with is that the shin is hard or it's fixed in one place, so we don't get any swivel or motion, which is a bit surprising. It would have been nice if we could have twisted this a little bit on the inside. A lot of other figures do have that, but unfortunately this guy doesn't. We do get a decent pivot on that ankle joint and some motion though. So far I haven't had too much of a limitation with the feet ankle design or range of motion of posing. But if we could have twisted that inner shin, maybe moved it a little bit, I think it would have been a nice touch turn. Otherwise, actually really well articulated figure that also looks really good. I mean, it probably really does just come down to the fact that I much prefer this design than the 1000-year Blood War one. But yeah, overall so far, a really cool figure. So looking at each of these faces, really good detailing. It definitely looks like Ichigo. And one thing I do love is that the face with the blood coming down, you also see the bandage underneath the blood, which is great. And then the blood is running over the eye. If you look really close, you can see some of the eye outline coming underneath the blood as well, so really nice detail there. And then obviously with the half hollow mask, we also have a bandage there, so that is really cool too. And then the colouring of the eyes pairs well with the full hollow mask. I will say though, while I do like the full hollow mask, it does seem a little bit too plasticky or cheap, which is quite a stark difference to the rest of the figure, since it is kind of like a shiny white plastic along with the red paint as well. Not a huge issue, but maybe a slightly different finish could have elevated this figure a little bit more, especially since we do have that weathering on the hair. Okay, so I've got Ichigo here in a real simple pose, like he's just ripping on that ripping on or pulling, anyway, chucking on that hollow mask. One thing I really want to kind of highlight here was the fact that it's really nice and easy to flare out the lower part of his top or the back part, so we can get that nice red coming through, which is a great contrast with the black. I think that's one of the reasons why this version of Ichigo is so badass and well light, because the design is spot on, but it wasn't just black and white, right? So if I get the light here, you can see that red coming through, which looks absolutely amazing. Let me roll that there. You can twist these ones around as well, so you can definitely get a bit more, I don't know, what's the word I'm trying to look for actually? Not really contrast, but it's more dynamic, right, in both the posing, since you can actually articulate those, the lower or end flaps out, as well as you get the colour, which is not just black, white, but you get that deep red in there as well, which is, I think, iconic, especially with the hollow mask. But yeah, let me switch up the pose again and we can have a look at the effect that he comes with as well. Okay, gotta say, this is pretty cool. I mentioned earlier how I think the stand was a bit short and the high one would be nicer. I gotta say, actually, when you get Ichigo down in a lower pose, opposed to being a bit more standing up, it is actually pretty good height. Before I was kind of playing around having a bit more standing up, just doing like a one-handed swing type of a use or a pose, and the stand was a bit fiddly for that. But when you get them into a bit more of a dynamic pose like this, it definitely works really good. You can angle and aim the effect as well in whichever direction you want. Since it has kind of a ball joint, you can swivel and move this around as needed. So yeah, definitely pretty flexible, looks really cool. Love the fact that he came with an effect piece, and obviously that half hollow mask is really badass. Yeah, we've got Ichigo here along with Naruto and Goku, just for a size comparison for anyone who is unfamiliar with the Bleach line so far, or if you want to kind of see the comparison to the other figures, if you have one or the other and you want to see if they look cool together. Because I think actually one of the main reasons why I did pick up this Ichigo, I kind of wanted like a, you know, each hero from all the main jump series that I really do like. I do have the Figma Yor from Shaman King tucked away, can't reach them at the moment. I would like to get like a Figuarts version of Shaman King at some point to pair up. I post some mixing and matching brands because the finish and the scanning is often slightly different, right? Plus we get Kon. Kon? I don't know why I say Kon. I would love Kon for Bleach, I meant to say. And we do get Gon from Hunter x Hunter this coming weekend actually, so really starting to flesh out all these really cool Shonen Jump characters that I've loved reading and watching throughout the years. But yeah, anyway, let me move these guys off to the side. We can jump into the pros and cons for this release, because seriously, the fact that it comes with a effect, already a huge pro. He's retail with effects. The sword is great. The fact that we can articulate the lower part or the back flowing coat, whatever you call this outfit, is amazing. I love the red. The peg's a little bit weird at first. You do get used to it. And I think it is kind of a necessary evil in this case to give the articulation, and I'm okay with that. The effect looks really cool. The hair, the weaving are spot on, really good. Love that sculpting, all the detailing. Everything is really nice. The hollow mask, half hollow mask, the blood face, really cool. Obviously the other pros, articulation, really good. As we saw earlier, great range of articulation overall. The cons though, let's follow on from the articulation. The fact that his leg can't move underneath there, it is fixed in position. Being able to swivel or bend it slightly would have been nice. The hollow mask does look a bit cheap with that plastic. I think like a finish which is not straight white, kind of like a slate off-white would have been nicer. Even if it was kind of painted or some other type of finish there. The price though, he is expensive. The other main con is the price. He's expensive. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't pre-order in the first place. I was going to pick him up in shop for a discount and I completely forgot him. The shop I had to go to in the end didn't have him discounted anyway. So I did pay for retail. I don't mind. I can understand why it is at price, especially these days since the price of figures have gone up, and he does come with a lot of accessories, but I still would have preferred a price a bit cheaper, maybe in the 6,000, 7,000 yen range opposed to the 9,900 I think it was. So he is pricey. But I think that's just what we have to deal with these days. That is basically becoming the standard for figures which come with this many accessories, especially as a retail release or even premium Bandai as well. But yeah, I think maybe this has brought some new life into the Bleach line. Maybe it saved it from being fully killed off. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. Did you pick up this figure? Have you been collecting the Bleach line all along, or did you give up like me? And are you keen to jump back on now since we're getting some of the earlier releases? Like, I think if we get Grimjaw to pair with Ichigo, oh, that'd be awesome. But I really want Urahara. Maybe first appearance Ichigo Rukia. I want those characters with Kon and so forth, right? To me, that's when I think Bleach, that's for iconic stuff, and at least that's the stuff that I would spend money on to have in my collection, opposed to the later figures. Obviously, I've skipped a whole bunch. If we do get some other characters I like, maybe I'll hunt down a couple of the older ones. But yeah, maybe Kenpachi is probably the one I would want the most. But I think at this point I'm definitely not jumping in on the Bleach line overall unless we get some really cool characters, which is kind of like this, lots of accessories and parts and expressions, and you can recreate those iconic scenes. But yeah, anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below again what you think of this figure, and who else you want from the line and all of that. But yeah, please do share it around, like, subscribe and all that stuff, because it does help. But yeah, anyway, that's it. So again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, cheers!